السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. We start by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and thanking Him for His many blessings upon us. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to enable this gathering to be in our scale of good deeds. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reward you for the time that you spare for His sake. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to enable this to be of benefit. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to enable us to exit from this gathering with hearts more steadfast on the path, more loving of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, more following of the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam. Say Ameen. Ameen. Awesome, mashallah. We are truly honored and privileged to be able to meet face to face. And, subhanAllah, we all went through the difficult times where we couldn't meet face to face. May Allah, never get those, bring those days back. Alhamdulillah, we're able to meet face to face, have discussions, share insight, share reflections. And we're truly honored and privileged to have Sister Omaima. Sister Omaima, mashallah, is, I would honestly say, perhaps maybe one of my first mentors here in Canada. Way back when, before many here were actually born, and maybe when a few were still children, we, mashallah, the Muslim community had a Eid festival. Do you remember those days? The Eid festival that, mashallah, Sister Omaima was running. She was the lead, she was running it, and she had teams after teams, that she would follow up on, and she would mentor, and she would coach, and she would teach. And mashallah, I was really blessed to be just kind of put into that, and that was my first really meeting with Sister Omaima, mashallah. And it really did change me. It did affect me tremendously, subhanAllah. And I still remember those days because they were blessed days, mashallah. We will start, of course, with a few words with Sister Omaima, inshallah, to share a few reflections, a few thoughts about today's topic. We are touching on knowing your prospect and actually getting to know the person that you hopefully want to spend the rest of your life with. So we'll touch upon that. And we have a lot of questions already. And I'm sure you have questions as well that we want to address. This is meant to be an educational session, one where we hear from our dear Sister Omaima, her own insight, her wisdom, her experience, and also from you, because each and every one of us comes with a set of experiences and wisdom of their own. So we also want to hear your thoughts, your reflections, your, kind of comments on things as well. The only rule that we have in faith is feel free to disagree, but disagree with respect, with finesse, with kindness. Because you know what? It's natural that we disagree. It's natural that we'll have difference of opinion, especially if the topic is a little controversial or if there are, heated topics. It happens. But we want to make sure that we uphold really the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where he says, مَا وُضِعَ الرِّفْقُ فِي شَيْءٍ إِلَّا زَانَهُ وَمَا نُزِعَ مِنْ شَيْءٍ إِلَّا شَانَهُ. Gentleness, when placed into anything, makes it beautiful. Whenever removed from anything, makes it ugly. وَالْعِيَذُ بِاللَّهِ. So we want to kind of uphold this idea that to disagree with gentleness, with kindness, if we do happen to disagree, and we encourage disagreement. In fact, disagree with me, disagree with Sister Omaima. I'm sure she won't mind disagreement. I don't mind disagreement. Feel free to do so, inshallah. But again, with finesse, with kindness, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. And we'll start with a few words with Sister Omaima.
Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Yeah, so Eid festival. You had to go there. Alhamdulillah, that was a long time ago, 1994 to be exact. And it's when I started learning about myself and about the community. You can't hear me? So I can't hear you, but I think that okay, can you hear me? Okay, all right. Okay, so if you can't hear me, just put up your hand and then I'll know. Okay. All right, so that was a long time ago. So 1994, I came back to Ottawa. I came back as a single mom with 3 kids who wanted to just have fun, because that's what kids want. And they wanted to celebrate Halloween and Christmas and Valentine's Day and all that fun stuff. And that's when I realized that it was time to do something different.
Oh, we're readjusting here.
So sorry, brothers. So the sisters are more work. I'm probably gonna have to go to work. And just a side note, please, if you're having any conversations, please keep it very loud, because we have trouble hearing.
So what's the brother's name, the tall one?
Kamara.
Kamara? I also have my boxing gloves. If someone's talking, we might have to deal with them. So I won't touch anybody, but my boxing gloves could. We disagree with Rifk, he was saying, lots of love. These are very loving boxing gloves.
The speaker came a long way, so please, you came here to listen, so please don't have any conversations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I also have a policy that all the cell phones should be off and not in your hands. Because if you're distracted, then you should be somewhere else. As you can see, my cell phone is not with me. I only have my cat because I have anxiety, and my cat helps me with that. So in 1994 or so, I wanted to do something for my children because as a single mom, I found that we had come from Egypt. I grew up in Canada, but I went to Egypt for some time, and my kids only knew Egypt. They hadn't been to the West yet. So the Eid festival started, and I had never organized anything except my home, my children, that kind of stuff. And I was a single mom, and when I approached the masjids, they didn't think it was a good idea to have an Eid event. So I went ahead and had it because I spoke to my mentors. I also had mentors. Some of them are still living, and some of them are not. But their advice was, if you think it's something that will benefit your children, then go ahead. And the reason I'm bringing this up, Ahmed, because you learned and you were mentored. I was actually being mentored at the same time by Dr. Rida Bashir and his wife and those other older mentors. And this is when I realized about 30-some years ago that we have a problem around marriage. Because brothers would come to me and say, I like that sister over there. And I'm like, okay, you should go talk to her. He goes, oh, I can't talk to her. I'm like, why not? He goes, because I can't talk to her because she's Muslim and we don't talk to each other. But we're doing this Eid festival, like 300 volunteers, remember? 30 team leaders. And we're seeing each other every day at university. We're seeing every day at work. But for some reason, we don't feel comfortable talking to her. Okay. So I became that person who's older, who would go and talk to her. So for you, and not you particularly, but people like you. And then the sisters would come and say, oh, that brother's really nice. Can you go talk to him? And I'm like, what? Why would I talk to him? I talk to him all the time about the festival. She goes, no. Can you talk to him and ask if he's married or single or looking or not looking and all that fun stuff? And that's when I realized that the girls are looking, but they don't want to tell the brothers that they're looking. And the boys are looking and they don't want to tell the sisters. So we have a communication problem. So that's when I started reading all these books and realizing that we have a problem. And what's funny is 30 years later, we still have that problem. So alhamdulillah, my kids are all married. I have 8 grandchildren. And alhamdulillah, and I'm really happy to be here because COVID was long. But subhanallah, for me in COVID, it changed everything in my practice because that's when that's when the brothers started calling me. I don't know, something about the lockdown. The brothers started calling me, and then CBC television called me to do an interview about what is a matchmaker. But currently, I'm not really a matchmaker anymore because we don't have a problem being matchmaked. We have a problem in that we don't know what marriage is. So I don't know about you guys, but I grew up in Canada. I came to Canada when I was 3.5, a lot younger than you, Ahmed. You were all grown up. I got here at 3.5. And at 3.5, I had influencers in my life. The same influencers that you all have. Bollywood, Hollywood, Arab wood, and all the woods. And I believed in the pretty white dress, right? And the nice suit, and married and happily ever after. Is there anything else? Because if it's not that, it's a drama. And we don't watch drama, we only watch the rom-coms. Well, me at least. Anyways, talk about myself. However, having gone through, I got married at 18, and I took matters into my hands 7 years later. At 25, I walked out. And that is called either fisk or khula. I did both because it was too much. I couldn't handle it with 3 children. I had to make a decision. It's either me, my children, or drowning in a marriage that was beyond me. And that's a decision all of you will have to make. When you say yes to marry somebody, you're actually signing your life away, the men and the women. Right, Ahmed, you're married.
It's the golden
You
cage.
signed your life away. And
I actually
that,
did in Egypt. I obstined.
Oh, come on, you put a footprint on it. You put
There
a
we go.
fingerprint. So you were actually signing your life away, and I'm not, and it's not a joke. It's very serious. And what I find interesting, Ahmed, is that most people here have some kind of diploma, some kind of degree. They spent years working on it. Years. I'm not even going to ask you because I looked at your credentials. I'm not going to ask you how many hours. So if anyone's read Malcolm Gladwell, you need 10,000 hours to be good at anything, to master something. So my question to the audience is, how many hours have you invested in learning about marriage? And please don't tell me you watch Netflix, because that's not an investment of education. That's not education. That's funcation. No hours?
You said 10,000 hours for what?
To become a master in anything.
So to become master in marriage, we need...
Absolutely not. You don't need to be a master in marriage. I'm just saying, to become a master, to become a black belt, to become a driver, an excellent driver. Malcolm's theory is that you master something by doing it. You don't master it by reading about it. I could read all these books and still be awful at parenting or awful at marriage. Reading is not the core issue, but for us as Muslims, and this is the defining moment for us, are we looking at marriage as Muslims? Because if we're doing it as Muslims, then we do have our boundaries, we do have our criterion. But if we're not Muslim, then everything goes. And I know the minute you walk out of here, you know what that means. Everything goes. Everything goes. It's scary because I study with a lot of Western scholars, and it's very scary. Like, it's getting to the point where the Western scholars are saying this is scary. Because I'm talking to a man online, I don't know if he's a man or a woman. That's scary. That was not the case decades ago. A man was a man, a woman was a woman. It was that simple. So in complicated times, I offer simple solutions because the Quran and the Seerah and the Sunnah, they offer very basic, very simple solutions. Very simple. It's not complicated. What has made marriage complicated, in my opinion, is the fact that we are influenced, heavily influenced, by the environment we live in, and we're human. So that's natural. That's no matter where you are in the world now, you're influenced by Disney. I mean, can we escape Disney? I can't. I haven't. So I'll stop here and I'll let you guys. Oh, I had my 3 questions.
Oh, yes, please.
So, anyone who thinks they're ready for marriage, I would like a show of hands.
Only one brother? That's it?
2.
2 brothers? 2 brave brothers, mashallah.
These are the brave.
3
these
brave
are the
brothers.
These are the courageous ones. The courageous brothers. 3 courageous brothers.
Mashallah.
Okay, that's not difficult. I could marry them off tonight.
Mashallah.
They're ready. And then any sisters that define themselves as like, I think I'm ready. No. Oh yeah, they're in the back.
Okay,
Mashallah,
mashallah.
mashallah. Okay, second question is, define ready. I need a definition. What, like if I say I'm ready, there's some doctors in the room, if they're ready to operate or they're ready to see a patient and prescribe medication, they know very well when that moment is, because they have to do a certain amount of studies, certain amount of tests, right? Before they can be ready to write a prescription. Anyone here who is ready to drive a car, I would expect they had at least 40 hours in class and maybe another 40 hours behind the wheel. I don't know. So I want someone to tell me, define ready. How do you define ready in a marriage? Like someone can say, I'm ready for marriage. What does that mean?
Please.
Say ready means ready to put in the work.
Ready to put in the work. Okay.
That you've self-reflected on yourself.
Oh, that you know.
You
Okay.
yourself.
Brother.
Make sacrifices, compromise.
Okay. That's,
So
yeah.
think as a team as opposed to being yourself.
Okay. Yep. These are all correct answers. But they're
There's
all.
one hand over there.
Yeah, where I don't see her. Yes.
Stability in life, like you're not moving around too much, or you're at like a stable job.
Okay. Yes.
I have an answer.
That brother. I saw someone in the back.
You have reached a level of peace that when events happen, you don't react strong.
Oh, emotional maturity. I love it. I'm still seeking that. Khair. This one, this brother, the brother with the yellow hat, he had a.
I would define ready as knowing as much as we can about deen, because I believe like thinking too much in the future. We know the ayah ولا تذكرن الرجال إن يفعلن ذلك غدا إلا إن شاء الله رب العالمين. صدق الله العظيم. And then last week we mentioned about that we have the concept that marriage is for life. It's not for life.
It's not for life. That is correct. Marriage is not for life.
And even about stability, we can have a job today, we can lose it tomorrow.
Absolutely.
We can have a car today, we can lose it tomorrow.
Absolutely.
We can have a wife today, we can lose it. Lose her
That's
tomorrow,
correct.
so.
That's correct. So interesting that you brought that up because I study that. And the whole concept that marriage is forever came from a company that it's called De Boers, and they created the diamond ring. So of course, Ahmed, the diamond is forever. And since you're giving that to someone, you're engaging her for a lifetime of God knows what. But as Muslims, that's not our history. That's not where we got it from. Actually, that's not our concept. Marriage is a relationship that has criterions and a basis. It has a beginning, it has a middle, and it could have an end. And that end could be anything. It could be illness, it could be death. It could have many ways of ending, not always favorable. And sometimes it is favorable. It's a good move for both of them. Like they married peacefully, they can actually leave the marriage peacefully. People don't do that, but they can because that's what Allah asked us to do. But when we're not Catholic, we're not Christian, we don't believe that divorce is a no-fly zone. Mm-hmm. We know that divorce isn't loved, but it's an option. When marriage is no longer serving its purpose, we can take marriage to that.
Mm-hmm. And right?
But it's there. It's an exit ticket.
Exactly.
And it has reasons where it's not always frowned upon. It's not always frowned upon. So we need to be very careful living wherever you live today. It doesn't matter if you live in the East or the West. Diamonds are not forever. Only Allah is forever. Marriage is not forever either.
On that note of forever, just to lighten the mood a little bit, there was this khutbah that was about Hurul Ain. And so the khatib, you know the joke, it's a very famous joke. So the khatib, the imam was talking, and he was like, you're going to enter Jannah, and then you're going to pass these gates, and then, take the footsteps, and then you're going to expect to see the most beautiful, of Hurul Ain, and then it's your wife. And then one buddy from the hudur, from the people listening, it's a khutbah, it's supposed to be quiet. He was up, he said, Ittaqillah ya Sheikh. So anyway, just a joke to lighten the mood.
Yeah, there's a lot of marriage jokes. I'm more into I have a lot of jokes, but my jokes are usually focused on online dating because that's where the real fun begins. And I have a lot of jokes about cross-cultural marriages that flop. And I have a lot of in-law jokes because those are always, those are popular. But, so yeah, it's been a journey. I've been studying marriage and parenting because they kind of go hand in hand. And then it led me into psychology because if you don't understand psychology, how will you raise your children? And if you don't understand men and how they think, how will you have a good relationship with the men in your life? And I'm not talking about the husband. I'm talking about my brothers, my dad, and my son. It's all psychology. And for men, same deal. You have a mom, you have a dad, you have sisters, you have women in your life. And I think we all live in this utopia, Ahmed, that I don't get along with anybody at home. But you know what? When I fall in love with her, it's going to be perfect. But I say that's not how it works. What ends up happening is if you have not been able to build a decent relationship with your mom or your younger sisters or your older sisters, most likely you will have a really hard time with the female in your life. Because unfortunately, as humans, we follow patterns. And all those awful fights you had with your sister, wait for it. You're going to have those same awful fights with your wife. You know, like and in the course, so I'm involved in a lot of different teaching programs. One of them is tonight, actually, in Arizona. And we talk about early childhood experiences. Because typically what you bring into a marriage is all of that. You cannot divorce yourself from your past, nor should you. And what Sister Hidayah brought up is that if you know yourself and you've taken time to reflect, you'll be okay. You'll manage. But more important, so there's two main issues that people need to think about when they call themselves ready. Who are you? Who are you? And what do you bring to the table? So Ahmed, my question to you is, when you approach that family or that lady, who are you? What were you offering? Because what I see today with men and women, they're really finicky about what they'll take. But the minute I ask them, what do you bring to the table? There's a lot of silence. So marriage in its core is a transaction. And it could lead you to hell. It could, potentially. That's an option. And it could lead you away from hell. And the partner that you choose to marry is going to be a deciding factor in that journey. So the way I see it is that we're very picky about our friends. Our girlfriends are like our friends. The friends, المرء عند دين خليله. So I know you when if she's your friend, I check her out. I know you might not be identical, but you're similar. So next time you're checking a guy out or a girl out, check her friends. And that's why often very successful marriages happen when you have brothers and then you have a sister and she's your sister's friend. You got to know her. You didn't mean to get to know her. You know, in Egypt we have that, she was visiting my sister, they were studying together. We knew her because she was there, right? She was just there as you grew up. So those marriages tend to work out sometimes. But so knowing who you are, and people I meet, they don't know. And also, what are you expecting? Because the white dress thing and the whole
Maybe let's start with that.
Doesn't
What's wrong with the white dress and the night on the horse?
Sorry. That lasts a week maximum. So now when we look at the divorce rate, so basically I study divorce because it's like backward engineering. So if you understand the causes of divorce, you can reach a positive space for marriage. So I'm looking at some stats. These are stats that came out during COVID, actually. So there's an institute in Chicago called FYI, which is Family and Youth. What is it? Family and Youth Institute. So they do research, they track numbers. So it was Delia Mujahid had done part of the research for them, and they presented this as what are the factors that lead to Muslim divorce, and how do we align with the Christian community, the Jewish community, and the mainstream?
How do we compare?
Like, where are we from them? And interestingly enough, we are right with them.
Not that different.
We are right with them. Then I traveled, so I've traveled around since I got this information. And every community I go to, I hear the same challenges, the same problems, but I don't hear the solutions because we're not there yet. We're not in the mode of solution seeking yet. We're more in the mode of, oh my God, everything's a mess. Yeah, that I've known for 25 years, almost 30 years. And I've known it through my own story and from stories of people around me that marriage is not doing well, it's not healthy. Very few couples I meet will actually sit down and say, alhamdulillah, we've got a solid relationship. And COVID just made it worse because it made the good marriages stronger. It was a stressor. It was a stressor. You might have lost your job. She might have lost her job. She might be sick because she's a medical professional or a nurse, right? COVID added a layer of stress that made good marriages stronger and poor marriages fell apart all over the world. Japan, China, Russia. The stats are clear internationally. COVID was a stressor that obviously unexpected, obviously. However, it actually brought to the surface all the stuff that was under the surface that we weren't dealing with because, you know, I work 9 to 5, he works 9 to 5, we don't see each other. We get home, we put the kids to sleep, we don't see each other. And suddenly we're in lockdown with each other. I can't stand you. I just realized that. You know what I mean? Like, I can't stand you. Why do you think some people don't go on vacation? Because vacations, what happens at some, not all couples, some couples, the minute they go on vacation, all hell breaks loose. Why? You're supposed to be having a good time. So I'll stop because I could go on for days. I mean, it's a lot of books. So I'll stop and I'll wait for some questions, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think one question that kind of you brought it up, the idea of looking at someone's friends. I remember, I don't know, anybody here familiar with Baba Ali?
Yes.
Baba Ali has Half Your Deen, I think. That's the website he's working on and part of. And it's a very interesting program. So he was talking about how one of the ways to get to know your prospect is to actually ask them about their friends. And he said that when you ask them about their friends, they'll be honest about their friends. They'll tell you, okay, my friend does this, my friend does that, this is one of my friends. So you kind of are inquiring about their friends. And the Prophet says, he says, Al-mar'u ala dini khalilih, falyanzur ahadukum man yukhalil. Meaning that a person will be pretty much following the same path of their very intimate friends. So be careful and watch for who you actually consider as your intimate friends. So this saying of the Prophet ﷺ kind of renders into the idea that, you know, I think there's a saying around that point as well, you know, show me your friends, I'll know who you are. The idea that when you are kind of trying to come to know somebody, you can get to know them indirectly by knowing their friends. What are their friends like? What are their friends dislike? What are the hardships that the friends went through? What are the shortcomings that their friends have? And that can give you some insight into who they are. Do you think that's fair to say?
That's very fair. And so I studied the Islamic sort of criterions, and you're right on it. But it's interesting when you work with the Western people who are not necessarily Muslim, they use the same thing. So there's one book, I mean, I brought a lot of books, but there's one book that I think instead of, you know, just checking out how many movies you watched and how many movies I've watched and what your favorite color is and your favorite flavor of ice cream. I mean, that could be a lot of conversations. There's one book I recommend that couples who are getting to know each other take any book about marriage, and I'm leaving it wide open. There's 1,000 books. There's thousands of books written by Muslims and thousands of books written by non-Muslims, and they all pretty much say the same thing. The book I'm talking about is written by an Ontario psychotherapist. His name is Guy something. It's 10 conversations. 10 conversations. He says that if people had these conversations, they would make a better decision on who they marry. And since they don't have those 10 conversations properly, they end up in his office before they go to court. That book, yeah. So I use that book. It's written by a non-Muslim, but the 10 conversations are the same conversations that we as Muslims should be having, talking about finance, about everything related to finance, because you don't want any surprises. Like, I don't want to know that the brother has a debt that he didn't tell me about. And I interview a lot of people before marriage. I do compatibility sessions. And there's just a lot of stuff people don't want to share. And that's not going to work. Because for us as Muslims, we need to have that nikah paper that you're signing is actually a form, it's a contract. And Allah is the third being. So it's between myself, the brother, and Allah. And honesty is, how do I say this? If I find something out about you, Sheikh Ahmed, that you specifically hid, like a debt, like a wife, like children you didn't tell me about.
I have 3. Just
No, or cats.
2 cats.
Cats you didn't declare. That is actually grounds, not even a divorce. That's for straight away. That actually, that document that we both signed is no longer a valid document. How many Muslims, I don't want to say lie, but let's just say don't tell us the whole story. And the best way to do that is to make sure that we get engaged and married and have nikah within 2 weeks, right? Because the faster we sign that document, the less I'll know about you and the cats and the children and the wife that you didn't tell me about. And I find it fascinating how we can rush into something. We don't do that when we buy a car. We don't do that when we get a degree. We don't do that when we apply for a job. We don't do that. We don't do that. Muslims just don't do that. Not the men don't do that, and the women certainly don't do that. But for some reason, something happens. We all know what that's called. And that's not the way of our path. That's not the path that's set for us. Because I know you want to ask me about love.
No, we can talk about this a little bit more too.
I don't actually believe in the love that's presented through Hollywood.
You don't believe in love at first sight? No?
Of course. No, love at first sight, I don't have a problem with. Of course, that could happen. That's from Allah. Like, and that could happen. Like, I met this sister a couple of days ago, and it was instant. Like, we were at the same table, we did some activities together. It was love at first sight.
MashaAllah.
However, before I go into business with her, before I buy her house, before I sell my car to her, there's going to be a lot of negotiation. You know what I mean? We connected, but that doesn't mean that connection is going to lead into anything, right? Because I need time. I need time to know her, and she needs time to know me.
So that chemistry is not everything.
Chemistry is lovely, but it'll only take you so far.
Okay.
And when we look at the divorce rate in North America and in Egypt and in the Gambia, so I was in West Africa, I thought it would be different. Same deal.
SubhanAllah.
We don't make it to year 1. We don't make it to year 2. We just don't. So that tells me that we didn't do the groundwork before signing that contract.
So let me ask you this: what changed? Like, we hear stories from I'm sure you heard these stories from grandparents about how it was so simple, it was easy. People had an honor system that they honored. People got married young, maybe at the age of 16, 17. You know, so what changed? What happened?
What happened? We became advanced. We became advanced. We, like, I'll say, so I look at my grandmother's generation, because I witnessed that. I look at my mom's generation. I look at my generation and my children's generation, and then I brace myself when I look at my 16-year-old grandson. I literally brace myself because he had to delete all his LinkedIn. He had to delete his Instagram. He had to delete his TikTok. He deleted all his social media stuff because he was getting girls. He's 16. Since he was 13, Ahmed, he's being chased down by girls. And they were just saying, you're cute. And yeah, that's not going to work. So he has a private, I think he has a private YouTube, like he has everything private because he's in an industry where he could become very famous very quickly at a very young age. And it freaked him out, as it should. You know, people talking about his hair. He's not in the hair industry. He's not a model. He's not in the industry of how he looks. And so what changed, Ahmed, is we have focused on the quick. We have focused on the superficial. And when you do that, you could get married in 2 days. But that hadith, that's very clear. What are the criteria for a mate? So I'm going to ask the brothers, in seeking a mate, what are the criteria that Allah has designated as these are the things to look for in a female? Because those things are universal. They're never changing. Yes, go ahead.
Deen and khuluq,
So deen and khuluq. Okay.
Nurturing.
Sorry?
Nurturing. Like nurturing ability. Giving. Skill.
Okay. Yes. Okay. I see a hand.
So the hadith of the Prophet
Yes.
عليه الصلاة والسلام.
تنكح المرأة لخمس
الأربعة.
لأربع.
family, wealth, and someone.
Beauty.
Ahmed, can you give us the whole hadith, because it's very we all, when we say it in English, there's في معاني بتتغير, and we have to go back to the core of it, because this is your recipe, brothers. It's that simple.
Yeah, the Prophet says, عليه الصلاة والسلام, تنكح المرأة لأربع, meaning a woman is married for 4 reasons, and then he lists them. No problem. He lists them, عليه الصلاة والسلام. He says, لمالها, لجمالها, ولنسبها, ولدينها. And then he says, فاظفر بذات الدين تربت يدك. And فاظفر meaning win, like it's a winning. Win the one that has the deen, and your hands will be safe. And that's an expression meaning that you will be in a safe situation.
You'll be in good hands.
You'll be in good hands.
If you're going to English. So we all know what beauty can do. And that goes for the men and the women.
Mm-hmm.
What about, what should the ladies be looking for? Because some of them are ready and they're watching. When I went to Saskatoon during COVID, I sat down with some girls. I sat with the moms, then I had a session with the girls, and the girls were clear in Saskatoon. We will not marry a single guy from this community. And I'm like, wait a minute, you guys have brothers. They're like, we're not marrying. So the girls that they're not the brothers of, they're like, we are not marrying her brothers. And I'm like, why? I can't repeat the answer. It was very, very mean. They said they're losers. They're losers. We're not marrying them. But I kept telling them, but he's only 16. He's going to be improved. She's like, not happening. Not happening. So I'm like, wait a minute. If you're not marrying the boys from Saskatoon, then where are you marrying from? Back home? Because those girls were all raised in Saudi, Egypt. They had all come to Canada in the last 15 years. So some of them, like, the families came from the Gulf during the Harper days. They were all educated families coming from Qatar and Dubai and all over the world, really. Afghanistan, everywhere. And all the girls said the same thing, we're not marrying these boys. We're going to find another set of boys. And I'm like, they're not that different. They're like, not the Saskatoon boys. I'm like, why not? And then you go to Toronto And the girls in Toronto, they're not interested in those ones. Then most interesting, what really hit me, is when I went to the Gambia, and the Gambian men were like, we're not marrying Gambian women. And the Gambian women were, we're not going anywhere near the Gambian men. And I'm like, okay, this is a universal issue. This has nothing to do with Saskatoon. So why are we not satisfied with what we see in the men sitting next to us? The ones who pray at our mosques? And what's that going to do when these women won't marry those men, and these men are not interested in these women? What happens? So what are the women supposed to look for based on that hadith?
The hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet says, alayhi salatu he says, إن جاءكم من ترضون دينه وخلقه فزوجوه إن لم تفعلوا تكن فتنة وفساد كبير. Translates to that if someone proposes to you that you accept their deen and their khuluq, meaning their deen, their connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they're following the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, their khuluq, their ethics, their character, you accept these two, then marry them. Because if you don't, you'll be causing fitna, you'll be causing tribulation, you'll be causing corruption. That's the hadith.
So there's an overlap between the two. Khuluq and deen. That's identical. The women were not, and this is so true, looks won't be enough. It may be enough for the men to get
For a while too. Right?
and as long as it lasts. But the thing is, but that's interesting because as I've traveled around the world, a woman's beauty is seen differently. So in North America, the younger the better. The more pretty, the better. But that's very objective. Like, it's not always objective. It's very subjective, actually. And so this is very much influenced by Disney and Hollywood. Because what is beauty? What is beauty? Like, how do you define it? And what's skin deep and airbrushed? Because all of us, when we go to sleep and wake up, we're not the same person. Like when all that makeup is gone, what's left? Her. I don't know if any of you watched that movie, Her. Her? Oh, you should watch it. Her, she's a machine. It's the latest Her because she was perfect. You decide who she is and she becomes her. And he got attached to her. And that's where we're going, Ahmed, by the way. So this fitna that they're talking about, it's going to be very interesting when the her is no longer a human person. And we're already there, alhamdulillah. I mean, it's already been done. There's many hers in the lives of men. I don't know if there's women who have hymns. I haven't heard about that yet. Everything's possible. And she's perfect because she looks exactly how he wants her to look. She won't age. She's a machine. There's no aging. She can be reprogrammed anytime. She's perfect. And that's the other thing. And I'm very clear about this. Perfection is for Allah and wedding cakes. And there is no perfection beyond that. And if we as Muslims are seeking perfection beyond that, we are going to be very, 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 very unhappy.
That's a good point. I think that you touched on the fact that, subhanAllah, as human beings, we come as a package, right? We have flaws, shortcomings, we have, personality traits, we have character. It's not just the exterior of that package. There's depth to it that we need to recognize as well. And I think that sometimes many of the brothers fall into this fantasy where they kind of have a perceived image and they don't kind of venture into recognizing that this is a full-blown person that has character traits and character flaws. And Baba Ali shared something interesting. He said, and I quote, he says, everyone who gets married marries someone they're attracted to. The ones that get divorced have married someone they can't tolerate. So it was a very interesting quote. He was talking about what to tolerate.
So Baba Ali, he's oh my God. So he's my twin. But yeah, so I had to go meet him. So I went in COVID because that was the only time that he was actually available. I spent time in Arizona and in California, but I specifically went to the cities where he was because I actually wanted to work with him directly. And we did a lot of workshops together on Clubhouse. During COVID, there was nowhere else. The only place to go was Clubhouse. And it was amazing because basically I had challenges dealing with my clients who were men, and he had challenges dealing with his clients who are men. And so I was able to bounce things, like he's a married man, he's been through it, and he also designed that website, which is one of the best, I think, I've been on all the sites, and that's the only one I trust, because the way he has it, it's very, it requires a lot of time investment. Most people won't invest the time. They won't answer the questions. There's 150 questions. They won't answer them. They just want to do like, here's my picture. I like going to the gym. I studied engineering. And that's it. I'm like, great.
But that's good. That's more information than usual. Usually it's just a picture and you can swipe left or right these days, right?
That's Tinder. That's Tinder. That's Minder. That's Minder. So I designed, I can't go into it now, but I designed a course just how to navigate the online world. Because again, Muslims are putting themselves in a milieu. It's like, you drive, I'm going to give you a bulldozer. Ahmed, I know you're a good driver. Here's a bulldozer, drive it. And then you're like, you don't even know how to get in and how to get out. You don't even know where the gas goes. You don't even know where. You don't. And of course you don't. How would you? So Muslims, mashallah, so let me start with our successes. What our parents have done really, really well is they've made sure that most of us got an education. I've yet to meet an uneducated Muslim.
Alhamdulillah.
And most of us know how to get a job. And most of us think we need to buy a house. And most of us think marriage is something we have to do. And I don't agree. I don't agree. I think marriage is important, but it's not for everyone. Yes, brother.
There's a verse in the Quran, it says, I'm not sure how to say it exactly, but وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا, صح?
Absolutely. Taskunu. So you're talking about sakina. Taskunu is sakina. Sakina has many names. Minha al-bayt, second.
Yeah, but it's good to...
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. I'm not anti-marriage. Not after all these years. However,
when like, I'm not here to tell you what to say or not, but when you're saying that marriage is not...
it's not for everybody.
But it can be for everybody.
I don't know, because there are certain women and certain men in our history who just simply didn't. They did not.
Because they chose.
Absolutely, it's a choice. I agree. Brother, yes.
I'm not kind of like exactly hopping on that specific point, but it's just that what I've noticed personally, like in the time that we're living in, and especially with the fitna, alhamdulillah, I'm already married, but I'm talking about like a lot of my friends and stuff like that, with everything that's going on, it does become fun because the risk of, let's say, for example, figuring your own baggage out versus falling into sins that can lead to great destruction, it's kind of like, if somebody says, oh, I don't necessarily need to get married, but you have urges, so how are you going to deal with that?
Absolutely.
So a lot of these things that they come into play, and I'm not saying that it's necessarily the wrong message, but some people might feel at this moment that, oh, maybe I fit in that category where marriage is not for me because I've tried and it's not really worked, so I'm just, so...
Absolutely. Oh, so I advocate for marriage 1,000%. However, getting into a bulldozer when you don't know how to drive it, you could cause a lot of damage to yourself, to your children, to your cats. Cats get, no, I'm serious. When I'm stressed, my cats are stressed. The reason I didn't bring my cat back to Canada after taking him to the Gambia, traveling for him is very stressful. He's a cat for me because I have anxiety on airplanes. But if my cat is getting anxious on an airplane, I left him there because he's comfortable. And when I came to Canada, I got another cat, as you can see. So I think you need to weigh. No, brother, you're 1,000%. Of course we should be married. However, go into marriage eyes wide open, fully. And I don't mean study all of Islam. I didn't. Who's gonna wait that long? What, marry at 100? No. There are some basic things that one needs to know. Just like when you started driving, you're not the same driver. 2 years into driving, 10 years into driving, you're a different driver. You know, even your insurance changes after you turn 25 because statistically, you're a safer driver after 25. However, if you're under the influence of alcohol or Hollywood, I'm big on this under the influence because I believe the main issue in our marriages is not the in-laws. It's not the in-laws. I know everyone wants to blame the mother-in-law and the father-in-law. Good luck, because you have a lot to answer to. The main thing is the influence that we're under from Hollywood and Bollywood and Arab Wood and what's that guy, the Turkish guy, Ertugrul. Oh my! It's like since I watched that, I'm like, okay, so that's what he should look like. Like, I'm sorry, he's perfect. He's perfect. Him and the other guy with the T. I can't remember his name. Oh my God! Even the sword maker guy, the older guy. I'm like, wow. I watched that series and I came out of it completely like, and I'm not even saying like Sahaba, and I'm not even going that far back. This is just people that recent Muslims, right? Turkish ones. So when I went to Turkey, I had expectations. I did. I went to Turkey 3 times, and I'm like, oh my God, brothers here are very good looking. And all I could carry was that series. I watched all of it, beginning to end, and I was doing my Islamic duty. I was studying Islamic history, but it completely changed how I look at men. Then I went to the Gambia. And you know what's really scary? Hollywood, the movie industry is shifting to Africa. So you know that amazing actor, Idris? He's done. He's done. He just announced 2 days ago he's opening studios in Africa. He's moving back. He's starting everything he did. And he's not even African. He's British, born and raised. So now we're going to have the African, which is amazing. I was there, I watched. But it's a whole other layer of influence. The way the Africans do stuff, it's not the North American way. It's very different. Many of them are Muslim, so there's that Muslim piece, but many of them are not. And many of them are Muslims who are not practicing. So the influencers are growing. And who are I want people to ask themselves, who are your influencers? Because I guarantee you it's not just your mom and dad. I wish. Is the Quran an influencer? How? Is the Hadith an influencer? When? Is it what guides you to the husband that you want? Or not? Because this is where the problem lies. Brother, you had a question. Please go ahead.
I'm expecting you to tell us about problems that happen between married people already.
You want to know the problems? He told me not to say any problems. He said you're going to scare them. He said you're going to scare them. Okay, so you want me to
Let's take it from the question point of view. So we have a question. I think we have a
Okay,
hand here.
but he
Let's take
said,
it, and
tell
we'll
me the
come-
problems.
We'll come back to the problems.
No, I could do a private session just with him and give him all the problems. Yeah.
Maybe a little bit to help with that question without divulging too much information on why marriages don't work. But we also, I think we have to keep in mind, at least this is how I reverted to Islam and I understood that also being married is the completion of half of your deen. This is a hadith that's possible. So half of your deen, when you think about it, it's huge. Like you can go through your whole life and you practice well and you do hajj and you do everything and you fast and you haven't completed a marriage. That means it's half of your deen. Having had 2 marriages, and I know so much about myself now as well. So this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that has, there's hikmah in this hadith because you learn so much from yourself, your patience, your level of patience as a human being, as a woman, as a man. There's so much in divorce that goes right over our heads and we don't realize it years later, perhaps after a divorce, and go by and think, maybe I should have tried a bit harder or looked at it differently. So marriage, it being half of the deen, is a huge endeavor on any human being, whether male or female. And it's a must because you certainly know or learn more about yourself as a Muslim and your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's massive.
Thank you for sharing. Jazakallah khair. We actually talked about some of the problems. Like one of the problems that we mentioned is the idea that you haven't figured out what influences the person, right? You entered into a relationship with somebody and you don't know what influenced you and you don't know what influenced them. And there could be many negative influences. Is it the Quran that's influencing them? Is it Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that's influencing them? Or is it Hollywood or Bollywood? And we talked about tolerating as well, right? Baba Ali's quote is when many of the divorces happen because you can't tolerate the person. So you entered into a relationship with somebody without knowing who they are, so that you can actually recognize, do you tolerate that or not? And so I think that these are things that help us navigate, right? I think we have a comment here and then we'll come back to this.
I'll say one of the big things that today we have a very strong culture of self-celebration. And you're the best, you're awesome. But I think that our deen teaches us that one of the cornerstones of religion is humility. Really humbling yourself to Allah Azza wa Jal, and also humbling yourself to your spouse, to the sense that they know things that you don't know. They observe you from outside yourself. So that humility aspect, and I find it very odd sometimes when you hear people talking about marriage and besides like these outlandish comments. There are no good brothers out there. There are no good sisters out there. And just guiding to one verse where Allah talks to the Yahud, telling them, you advise people in good while forgetting yourself. Because it's very good, easy to other people. And we like to think of ourselves that, we're good Muslim. I'm amongst the good brothers. That's why I think there's no good sisters out there. But you might look within yourself and find so many flaws and so many things that aren't good. And like you mentioned, like when you ask people what are they bringing to the table, they fall silent because they've never been challenged or had to think of that. And I've been married for a very short time, but I'd say in that time I've learned a lot more about humility than I've had in my own life. Because your parents, sometimes they cultivate humility but also confidence, but your spouse would shine that light in the spaces where you're weak, and you need to, accept that and be able to, willing to work. And obviously it's a work in progress, but I feel a big flaw in our community and what we're missing is the discourse surrounding humility. Really humbling yourself. You're not that nice. You're not that awesome. You're not that great. And this is real stuff. And when you tell people that, it's like, oh, you're making me feel bad. My emotions. But I'm saying, in reality, just like Musa with Khidr, for him to learn, he had to humble himself. And accept that you don't have all the answers. So a lot of these things, they come back to those, even with your influences. If you're humble enough, those influences won't have as great of an impact because you can recognize that, okay, I am being affected this or that way.
Jazakallah khair. Jazakallah khair. Any comments on
Yes,
what's shared so far?
mashallah, mashallah. How long have you been married?
It's been about 10 months.
Mashallah, mashallah. You're a quick study. You didn't. It could take some men 10 years to figure out what you just said, and I'm not joking. No. I mean, no. But the fact is that you understand it's a work in progress. I think our community, and all communities, it's not just the Muslims, by the way, because I speak to a lot of Christians and Jewish people, and non-Muslims and non-religious people. I think we have put the milestone as the wedding. That's not a milestone. That's a celebration. That's like Eid. You know, we celebrated Eid. I gave you a gift. You gave me a gift. It's gone. It's over.
It's also the beginning. No?
It's the beginning of the end.
La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah.
Did you not hear
I
the
wanted
brother?
you to be optimistic.
Did you hear what the brother said? He said 10 months, and she's shining a light on the flaws. That's what we do. However, Allah has advised us to be careful. Because as moms, as sisters, as mothers, we can tell you exactly what you did wrong when you washed the dishes. You know, like exactly which dish was still greasy after you washed it. That's how He created us that way. We can figure that out while we're still upstairs and you're washing the dish. Has it not happened that she's upstairs and she's like, Ahmed, you forgot this and this and this? And you're like, I'm right on it. However, when I hear that hadith, very important that Sister Hidayah mentioned, when we put it as half our deen, it's because it's two egos. However, if I die in a state that I'm not married, for whatever reason, I was too young, I was too old, I was divorced, whatever the reason, it's a full deen. I'm not half a person. Everyone who's here and single is not half. They're a full Muslim. So I don't think people need to go around pretending that they're half until they become whole. You are a whole person, and you will be judged as a whole Muslim, whether single or not. And yes, it's half our deen, only because at this point, you're dealing with another ego every day, 24/7. And all I'm saying is, be prepared. Go in there, eyes wide open, knowing your responsibilities before your rights. Because a 10-year-old Muslim kid knows their rights. And none of you here are 10. Few people understand their responsibility. Not know it, understand it, and willing to do it. I did hear a brother say sacrifice. Sacrifice is a two-way street. It's not a one-way street. I heard someone say nurturing. Nurturing? What is that? Women are nurturers by nature. They have a rahim, they have rahmah. They have a part of that in their bodies. Men can also nurture. The Prophet ﷺ was a nurturing individual. He was a stepfather. He was a single dad. He married many women, and he showed us many things that we would have not known. And most people know about Sayyidina Khadija. Few people know about Sayyidina Sauda. She was older than Sayyidina Khadija. People don't bring that up because the Orientalists decided to just skip over her. She was older than Khadija, radiallahu anha. Everyone's focusing on Aisha. Sheikh, Aisha, he passed away when she was 20. 20. She was single for 50 years. Obviously, there was a ruling for the wives of the Prophet. I get that. But she also demonstrated the importance of knowledge, the importance of understanding the faith, the importance of taking on children that are not yours. She took on, what do you want to say, coaching, mentoring, leading, teaching, What did she not do? And she's an example to the men and to the women. But we don't study, we don't know. Sauda, I ask anyone here who knows Sauda's story. She was older than Khadija. Older women were valued, not anymore. Because Hollywood doesn't value them. They see wrinkles, they're done. Wrinkled women. Wrinkled men are okay, wrinkled women are not. I'm like, come on. So when we talk about equality and equity, that's a whole different class. Let's stick on how to find, what is it? How to find Mr. Right?
Yeah, just knowing your prospects. So I guess one question here, we talked about a lot of things to look for. A question here is, what are good signs that warrant further exploration? Let's say somebody's talking to somebody, there's some conversation going on. What are good signs? I want to be on the positive side, right? So as opposed to asking about red flags, we touched on some about that, but what are good signs that are
Good signs?
that deserve to explore further?
What are good signs? Are you consulting your heart or your mind? No, who are you asking?
Good. Mind.
Or your eyes?
Mm-hmm.
No, I need to know who you're asking.
Sure.
Because Allah created me with 5 senses, maybe more. I have ears, so I'm listening. I'm a teacher. She's also a principal. So we're all about education, right? So I'm listening with my ears to understand what you're saying and why you're saying what you're saying. Not what you're saying, why you're saying what you're saying. That's what my ears are for. I do see with my eyes how many brothers and how many sisters don't know how to dress for an occasion. Like you go to Jummah and some people are dressed like they just came out of the gym. It's Jummah. Why are we not dressed for Jummah? How come we're all decked out on Friday nights when we go hang out with our friends? And Jummah we're just dressed whatever. So I'm looking to see, every occasion I see you, Brother Ahmed, I'm checking out what you're wearing. The women are being checked for sure, no doubt. But I think I've had sisters come and tell me, I'm sorry, this was a very formal event. And this is my discussion with Baba Ali. He's like, Omaima, I no longer know what to tell the men because they show up at those events in sweatpants, the matching events. And he goes, I don't get it. He's a man and he doesn't get it. And I told him, I don't know what to say. What should I tell my clients? He's like, tell your clients to dress appropriately for the occasion. The women seem to get that part, but the men don't. Some don't, some do. So I'm using all my senses in this project because it's a project. It's a journey. I'm using my ears to hear you. If I don't understand, I'm not going to skip over it. I'm going to ask you to clarify what you meant about that fancy car you said you had that you don't actually have. I'm checking because you say you have a degree from Stanford. And the last I heard is that you were admitted into Stanford, but you didn't actually go to Stanford. You didn't go to university at all. This is true. This is true, by the way. So her dad hired a PI from Iran. I kid you not. I kid you not. And the kid, the guy, the man, because he's not a kid, he's a man. He's 20-something. The parents paid for Stanford fees. He showed up one day, and he never showed up again. And he took all that money that his parents sent from Iran, and he didn't go to school. And his mom is telling women, because the mom is being dead honest, she's not lying, my son is at Stanford. No, her son was in California. He wasn't at Stanford. He was at Malibu Beach surfing with his friends. He didn't do one class. And the poor girl accepted to marry him based on what was told, in all honesty. Nobody lied. But the guy is in Stanford, not in class.
Inshallah.
That's a lot of money. And that's why her dad hired a private investigator, because he wanted to make sure that this is true. And so what I say is that check everything. So when I meet men who say, I'm an excellent cook, and I'm like, I need proof. And I've often had to invite my son and his son, because I can't have him over alone, and I'll have the brother come and cook. Because if you say you're an excellent cook, I need proof.
Okay. So
every
a good
sense,
sign is
every sense.
they're
So,
truthful.
No, a good sign is you've checked, you
found out.
you fact checked everything. Because Ahmed, we can't afford to be gullible. The men can't afford it, and the women shouldn't afford it. So if you say you have such a degree, I need to see it. If you say you have a job in X company, and that's what I did, because in the Gambia, I had to actually go to people's workplace to meet. I had to meet their boss because I wanted to make sure he actually teaches there. I'm sorry, Muslims don't always say the truth. So, and you cannot go around saying, you know what, he's Muslim, so he has to be honest. Really? That's not how it works. That's not how it works. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm off topic because I got distracted, but use all the 5 senses. You have a brain, Ahmed, for a reason. And the minute a girl tells me or a boy tells me I'm in love, that's close the file. Close the file, it's over. Because you cannot, and this is how the brain works, you cannot have all those endorphins. You simply can't deal with all of that and be in love and investigate. What are you investigating? What are you investigating? It's over. You know when they say pink glasses?
Blinded by love?
It's khalas. It's khalas, you're blinded. And if you decide to marry that person, as you should and could and would, khair. But don't tell me that you did your due diligence. And that's what I'm asking parents to do, and the prospective, because oftentimes our parents will not do that due diligence for a reason, because our parents just want to check off a box. My daughter's married. Done. My son's married. Alhamdulillah, 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 alhamdulillah. This is how we talk. By the way, I'm a parent. We go around, we're like, I'm done. I'm done, right? We're done. And if you have one left, you're like, okay, one more. So parents want to check off a box, but that's your life. Hiba.
I was reflecting a lot on what you said at the beginning, where this idea that marriage in Islam isn't necessarily a life sentence, right? So could we somehow simplify it for our community? Like in the Quran, marriage or nikah is really just an exclusivity contract, right? It doesn't, there is responsibilities that come, but it's not essential for there to be that contract. The contract is just there to protect against, if the woman gets pregnant, she knows who the father is, and to reduce some of the other risks to society, like STDs and what have you. So if we simplify it, and we also have to work on the other side, where if things don't work over a period of time, divorce is okay, like stop vilifying the woman or the man, then maybe the pressure will be lifted a little bit. And especially in our community in the West, like we live in a very individualized community where women and men are both capable of surviving on their own now. And so it's not a question of, oh, you have to make sure that you can do everything right and you're absolutely ready to take on a family and look after everybody for the rest of your life. No, both partners should be able to. And if that's the case, then the risk isn't as high. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? And
Absolutely.
you
I agree. I agree.
It's like the boyfriend girlfriend in the West. It's just that there isn't an exclusivity contract in place.
Yep.
To protect.
So I agree 1,000%. But our communities coming from every corner of the earth, good luck convincing all of them of that, right? Especially because our parents are from Afghanistan and Egypt. Wa'adat wa taqalid, like everybody has their customs and their cultures. However, if we bring it down to the bare bones of what Islam requires, it is simple. I wanted to go back to courtship because before that nikah piece, you mentioned stuff about engagement. And I'm not comfortable using that word as much because engagement means there's some kind of a ring and there's some kind of verbal contract, kind of, Irayat al-Fath and all that junk. And I'm sorry, it is junk because it's not clear on what that is, Islamically speaking. However, the courtship period, I could agree to courtship. Courtship being a period in time where I'm only talking to one person, trying to figure out where this is going to go. Now, what's a courtship? It's not 10 years. It's not 5, right? It's not 3, because it'll be very difficult to maintain an equilibrium with your heart for a long period of time. So courtship needs to be short and brief, but not 2 weeks. Courtship has to be defined with Islamic criteria before we go into the nikah that Hiba mentioned. And courtship needs to be a time where we're studying each other. And no, it doesn't have to be like a job interview, but it can be, because there are parts of it that are critical. So when you're looking at a prospect, there's some very clear things that we have to watch out for here, but for all of us. It should not be public. Public, but not public. My family knows. My brother knows. I'm consulting with you because I want to ask you, how well do you know him? Or how well do I know her? That's not public. That's private. Something else. Let's say it doesn't work out. Let's say, I talked to him for X amount of weeks, months. This is not public information. We need to protect each other from the community, because the community is a community. Muslim, Jewish, Christian, Canadian, Western, Eastern, it doesn't matter. People talk. People talk. That's what they do. That's what people do. It's not because they're good people or bad people. It's because they're people. So courtship, I think, has to be well-defined, and it is well-defined in our religion. But being in the West, we look at it as a dating process. It's not dating. It's not dating. I've worked in Canadian offices, and I tell them the only date I can have is in a box. And it has a pit. That's it. Online dating? No way. All the injuries, and I'm serious, Ahmed. I've seen the backlash of online dating. I've seen men that are damaged goods because of women who were playing along. Had no intention of marrying him because he doesn't live in the right city. He's not a doctor. He's not an engineer. My dad will not agree because he's Egyptian and my family won't marry me to an Egyptian. Please, sisters, come on. And I've seen men string women along for years, and I kid you not, years online, where they're kind of dating, kind of courting, kind of engaging. Engaging in what? Engaging in what? There needs to be a beginning, courtship, beginning, middle, and end. How do you define it? Brother Ahmed, you seem to be interested. How long do you think this process will take? If he's looking at 2 weeks, I'm like, Jazakallah khair, not going to work. If he's looking at 2 years, Habibi, I don't have 2 years of my life to waste on an online guy. I'm sorry. Guys, use your brains. Use your brains. Read a book. Look it up. Look, the CBC has 1 million reports have been done on online dating. Non-Muslim men have written books saying, women, protect yourselves. Imagine when the non-Muslim men are saying, protect yourselves. Non-Muslims. Because of all the catfishing and all the stuff that's happening. Come on. And then Muslims that are educated, that are smart individuals, they go online and they forget everything and they're just like, oh my God, he's so cute. I'm like, okay. Or she's adorable. I was talking to an Afghan brother from Texas, but I met him in Chicago, and he was being strung along by a sister in my city. And I knew her. I'm like, what the heck? And you know what's hilarious? He told me he has 3 older brothers. His 3 older brothers are married. They all told him, drop her. She'll never marry you. Oh, no. Another 6 months. It was years. She's not going to marry you. You're just a bench warmer. Sorry. I'm sorry. And you know how you know when he finally decided that it wasn't gonna happen? When he made plans he made plans to visit her parents. She tried to stop him, but he came anyways, and he came to my city and met her mom and dad. They loved him. Everything was excellent. Then he made plans for his family to come up to see her family. She made sure that didn't happen. And I'm like, what else did you need? You went to 2 sheikhs, they told you it's not happening. Your 3 married brothers said she's not happening. I met him after all of this had happened, because I got the history from him. And he's like, why are you guys all negative? Because if she was serious, you'd both be, and they're older, by the way, they're both over 30. Both of them are over 30. What are you waiting for? He goes, well, we're just, getting ready. Getting ready for what? Alhamdulillah, he finally dropped her when he realized that this was going to go nowhere. But I don't know what happens to the brain. That brother, he was waiting a long time.
Well, about that actually, why it's like basically when a man sees a lady who's like basically beautiful, like he likes her or something like this, some studies show that there's like less blood flow that goes toward the front flow.
Absolutely, that's
So
correct.
that compares like.
Are you studying psychology? What are you studying?
Yeah, I just graduated. So.
From what?
Are you Ottawa?
No. What did you finish?
Psychology.
Oh, okay, there you go. So he could teach this class. That's plus. Guys, if you need advice, you have a psychologist among us. Oh my God, he's probably diagnosed all of us by now. So I'm ADHD and anxious. I've got a lot of issues. I'll just declare it so you know.
Well, it's not that.
So what's your advice to the men?
It's.
Allah said, "Ghuddu nazar," like lower the gaze, but we don't do that either. So what else?
I'd say it's really hard, to get away from all the biases, because you mentioned it. Like usually you see something, some criteria, and then you get biased, and then you just forget, ignore. Sometimes you see the red flags, but you just choose to ignore them. So that's like a good thing is just to consult maybe a third party, like as you mentioned, like third party, like parents, for example. Mom, for example, would tell me. So I'm not gonna impose, like I'm not gonna come and be like traditionally, here's like a nice girl, like you're gonna marry her, but like at least before, just don't go and get into a relationship or try to get into a relationship. Just let me see her first, and then I'll give you kind of my diagnosis.
But brother, I agree 100%. But do you have criteria? Because so I had criteria. This is what I need. This is what I want, and this is what I'd like. You see, 3 different criteria. So, Brother Ahmed.
Nice to have, must have.
Exactly. If he's not Muslim, right? If he's not a Muslim man, I can't. Out. I spoke to men who are Muslim here in Ottawa. By the way, stuff in Ottawa here, there's a lot of weird stuff. So he was Muslim. My mom sent him. So he had all these extra points. Mama sent him. Like, come on, you get extra points for that? But then he was like, basically, he couldn't clarify anything about Salah. And that made me uncomfortable. And then when I asked him, which mosque do you go to? He's like, I don't go to mosques. So I kept asking, because look, my criteria, it evolved over the years, but it didn't change. Then when I asked him about alcohol, he's like, I don't drink, but my friends do. And then when I asked him about Hajj, because I really, really, really wanted to go to Hajj, I'd already gone, but I want to go again. He's like, I don't like Saudi. And he says, I don't like Saudis. And when I asked him what his problem was with the masjid, because I thought maybe he went to a bad masjid and, it turned him off. It happens to me. It's happened to me. So I asked him, what's the problem with the mosques? And he said he doesn't like the shoes at the entrance. They're messy. They're messy. So every time I go into a mosque, till this day, and I see the messy shoes, I'm like, I don't like this. This is what ticked him off. So I remember, whenever I see those messy shoes, I organize them because I'm like, they shouldn't be messy. And then, Ahmed, it got really good. This is the one call. And then he said the craziest thing. It was just weird. He's like, can't we just be friends? Oh my God. And I'm like, and I had to be clear because you need clarity, right, Hidayah? I said, define friends. So he asked me, do you have friends that are men? I'm like, yeah, lots of them. They're all married to my friends. They're all my friends' husbands. That's how a male friend for me is going to be your wife's husband. She would be my friend. And then you just happen to be her husband. So that's how you became my friend. That's as far as it goes. And he's like, can we go out? 3 times. And I'm like...
Persistent, brother.
No, he knows what. And then, he was Moroccan. Very Moroccan. And he had some really interesting highlights because he was married and divorced. And my favorite are the divorced men. They're just special. So I have the same question for every divorced man or woman. It doesn't change. Questions are always the same. The answers are unique. So I told him, he told me, what is it about you women? You can't just be friends. You always expect some level of commitment. And then, because I needed to clarify all this, because Mama sent him. So I had to have a good answer for my mom. I can't just tell her it didn't work. I have to give her a good answer. So I was too shy to go on LinkedIn or Facebook and find him, because I don't want him seeing that I'm finding him. So I called Muhammad Ammar. I'm like, Muhammad, this is his name. This is his job. This is what he does. Find him. Muhammad. And he called me back within hours. Sister Omaima? No. Then I told Mama whatever I told Mama, and she backed off from that guy. But she just sent another guy, another guy. And it's my mom. If I just say no without a good reason, I get in trouble. So I've been getting in trouble for about 35 years. But alhamdulillah, I went to the Gambia, and I found someone that fits my criteria. But he doesn't fit my family's criteria. So, such is life. That's life. That's what you guys should be prepared for. The person, but what's important out of this is that you need to have criteria. Otherwise, I can make Hiba marry anybody because Hiba doesn't have criteria. But if she has criteria and a sister who will vet with her, they vet together. You need that. You need someone from the other gender. So when I met this brother, when the brother met me, I had men vet him because I can't. Even with 25 years experience, I didn't feel qualified enough to vet another man.
It's an interesting point you raised, right? The idea that it takes a man to know a man, it takes a woman to know a woman.
Absolutely.
Can you shed some light on that a little bit?
Absolutely.
Why is that?
Even, what's that guy? that singer guy. Oh my God, he's Canadian. Bieber. Justin, do you know there's a song? In the song, it actually says, "My mom didn't like you, and she likes everyone." Do you know? When I heard that line, I'm like, that's so true. If your mom gets along with everybody, and there's some vibes that she's seeing that, not because the girl's from Pakistan, it's more than that. Moms know. Moms just have a sixth or seventh sense beyond. And your mom knows you. You know, your mom knows you better than many. But again, you have to weigh that in its context. So you need someone from. So basically, what we teach in the course, it's a course, it's a semester. It's every Monday night for 13 weeks. And I'm not the main teacher. I'm just one of the small teachers. My teacher is a professor from Arizona. We say that you need a marriage team to assess and to help you, walk you through all the bits. So I've been on many teams, whereas there are things, for example, we had when you're talking about honesty, I had a sister who was very ill. She has a medical condition, very young, very healthy, but this medical condition puts her in a space that's not, she's not fully healthy, but she's very honest. And the person she ended up marrying, same thing. He didn't have a medical condition. He had another issue, another challenge. So they both entrusted me with that private information after they met. So we try to get Kabul first, that, you know, the brother is handsome enough, the sister is pretty enough. That needs to be sorted first thing. They need to see each other first thing. In person, not on Skype, not on Instagram, not on TikTok, not on any of that stuff. That's not seeing. That's not seeing. That's fake.
Yeah, just on that note, don't rely on pictures. In person.
Pictures do nothing.
They don't
I
give
have
justice.
seen men on pictures who just don't look good. Some people are not photogenic. Some people don't know how to take a good picture. Some people think that a good picture is good, but it makes them look like an idiot. I'm sorry. I don't care how many muscles you have. That's not what I'm looking for. Your biceps and your triceps and your abs, that's great. That is not a full description of who you are. That is just, so I studied that as well, and it's pretty sad, and that brother who studied psychology knows. This is Greek mythology. There was a belief that man and women are just their bodies. And that's why the Olympics, it's all about what you can do physically. It used to be, back in the day when they started it, it used to be intellectual. So it was about your education, your knowledge of science, math, whatever. They deleted all that. They got rid of all that and just made it about what you can physically do. Because there is a ibadah of the jasad. You are what your body is. And I'm sorry to tell you, people are way more than what their body is. And that body, it's depleting every day we live, right? It's not getting stronger, it's actually getting weaker with time. Anyways, long story short, they both confided in me, and I shared the information. I told him, she has this illness. And he's like, I don't have a problem. I'm good. I told her his deficiency because he was honest enough to share that. And she said, I don't have a problem. And they've been, mashallah, together almost 10 years now.
MashaAllah.
Because the criteria he was looking for, she fulfilled it to the T. But her health wasn't at that level. And the criteria she was looking for, it was perfect for it. But he had a child. He was previously married. He came out of a messy divorce. Super messy divorce. And she was okay with that because she wanted a person who had other traits. He wasn't defined in her mind by his divorce. She wasn't defined in his mind by her health. And what he answered me, Ahmed, was brilliant. He told me, you know, Sister Omaima, she could be perfectly healthy today, perfectly healthy, and in a wheelchair tomorrow. This is the individual I want to artabit biha. This is the person I want to spend many years with. So I don't know if we, in this room, if we've reached that level of maturity. Because what I'm hearing from the women are certain looks. Oh, we're a small community in Ottawa. The brother has to be from Ottawa. Because I'm not moving. I'm not leaving my mom. I'm not leaving my job. I'm not actually doing anything. I'm just waiting for him to come and take me home, basically.
On the horse.
On the white horse. And my question is, for the love of God, every single female in this room, her parents weren't born in Canada. If anyone who has parents born in Canada, put up your hand. Yeah, well, if you're a convert, maybe.
I'm not a convert, I'm just a newcomer.
Okay, no.
No. Do you have
No.
parents born here?
No.
Anybody
I'm
have
saying
parents born here?
every human in this room.
One person?
Yeah, there's a couple
Mashallah,
of
mashallah.
exceptions, of course. But you need to understand this. We are a diaspora of refugees, immigrants. So if your parents all left their homelands and came here for education or marriage or something else, or a job, why, Ahmed, can someone explain to me, how did we get to a point where I can't leave my job? I'm like, don't. But don't come whining at 58, 38. I have girls who are 50. I have girls that I've known who are past 50, never married. You know why? Because I didn't want to leave mom. Okay, well, your mom just died. No, I mean, I'm sorry, like, that's the nature of the beast. Like,
Okay, we have
like,
a
you know, I
comment over there,
don't
question?
get it.
So it's just a comment along with this is something I noticed is now they diversified their investment portfolio. They are investing in different things, like investing in their job, investing in their thing, and not in the marriage and the family in itself. And that has been like from the American dream of like having 2 kids and both of them working. So that's something I've noticed where you're talking about like investing in the marriage, and then they tell, oh, okay, no, I don't want to leave my job, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, until you see that they're not investing in the marriage. That's for me what I've seen in like across the time, how like people change from like my parents, my grandparents. When my grandparents got married, they were invested in like the children. I have 11, 12 uncles from just one side of my family, and then it gets like slowly as like they invest different places. So.
Yeah. So basically, they sold us a dream. They told women and men, you can have it all. Oprah and Michelle Obama have written 1 million books, and they're telling women, you can't have it all. Michelle did not have it all. When he became president, she left her practice. She basically says it, go on her podcast, Michelle's podcast, on Oprah's podcast. You can't have it all, because tonight I wanted to be here with you. I'm missing my class. I can't have it all. We're humans. We're humans. We can't have it all, nor should we aspire to have it all. Because having it all for a Muslim female or male should be what? Ahmed, what do I want at the end of the game?
Rida Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Okay, why? Why? Where's the where are we going?
Jannah?
Okay, so then, but we're in dunya. And dunya is supposed to be a journey towards
Allah subhanahu wa
a
ta'ala.
destination. I need a mate that can support me on that journey to get to that destination, not the other destination. Right? Not the other destination. I really don't want that one. There's a clear ayah that says, Tabbat yada abi lahabin wa tab. Him and his little wife are going to that place. As a pair. As a couple. Do you know how many couples are in the Quran? Many. Many couples. Adam and Hawa. We don't have the whole she's the sinner and she convinced him, and then we don't have that. We have al-wiswas al-khannas, who whispered to both of the ayahs are clear. Like in Surah Al-Baqarah, it's clear. They were both whispered to, and they both made, and I call it a bad couple decision. So they made a bad couple decision. They're individuals that did a mistake, but the original sin isn't a sin of Hawa. We don't have that problem. We believe that both men and women are equal in the eyes of God as far as their faith, their ibadah, their duties, their responsibilities to Allah. Equal. There is no discrepancy. There isn't. And women come to a point in life where they're doing all their fasts. They're doing all their salahs. There's stages in a woman's life. There's years for birthing, but that's not her whole life. She's only doing that birthing and kids thing for a period of time, and then she's done with that. She moves on where she's just like the men in the sense that she can do all her ibadahs, Like there's all that stuff about women being less and what? When they're being less is when they have a cycle and when they are actually raising the next generation. Mm-hmm. Men don't have that. They don't have that variance. They're pretty much one thing. It's all testosterone. Women have to deal with 3 different things. Who are the doctors in here? Estrogen and testosterone. So we're dealing with multiple plateaus. Men are dealing with one thing, testosterone. So we're equal in the eyes of God. We're not the same. He didn't create us to be the same. I don't even want to be the same. Why? So it's a longer discourse, but I think what Muslim women and Muslim men need to know, there are years that you'll raise a family, and then there's a million years before that and a million years after that, that the children will not be part of the equation. So if you're building a team, short-term, long-term, or life-term, you need a teammate that will take you through that phase. And if it's not working, we have options. And we both have options, as Heba said. When women are fiscally able and educated, as our parents made sure to educate the men and women. And this is our tradition, because there's one set of tapes here, the first one right in front of you, the small, that one. It's the history of women in Islam. Dr. What's his name? Dr. Omar. Dr. Omar, Nawawi Foundation, back in the day. 13 hours, it's not a joke. He talks about every single woman that had an impact that was not Sahabiya. Like he skipped, so he basically let the Sahabiyas go. He said, those women we know. Mm-hmm. Then there's the Tabi'een, let them go. And then he goes, Tabi'een are like us. Right? Because we didn't see him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we didn't see people who saw him. Mm-hmm. So they're equal to us. And then he talks about women of that generation. Mm-hmm. And he's like, where are we now? How come our women aren't doing these things? What happened? So when you tell me what changed, a lot of things changed, and we started drinking the Kool-Aid. And as long as we're drinking the Kool-Aid, you'll be drunk on sugar, as many of us are. Go ahead. I think I went on and on.
We're going to come to a close very soon, inshallah, because we went way over time. So any final thoughts, questions, comments from the audience? Go ahead, sister.
I just have a question. So when we hear about marriage, it's about compromising. What are the things that we can compromise on and lead to a successful marriage, but others will lead to a failed one?
Okay, sorry, can you say that again?
So what are things that we can compromise on in a marriage that would lead to a successful marriage? And what are things that if we do compromise on, it would lead to a failed marriage?
Okay, so I'm going to make it simple. I believe that our faith dictates us to have ilm and amal. Same 3 letters, completion of meaning. If you go into any relationship, not even marriage, any relationship, without the ilm, you're compromised. You are compromised. You're not compromising, you're being compromised. if you go into a situation with ilm and you don't put forth the amal that corresponds with the ilm, again, you're compromised. So I would suggest that we look at ways to attain the ilm necessary and realize that there is amal necessary. And to look for a mate that has that understanding of ma huwa al-ilm, what is that knowledge base that I need before marriage? And I'm talking about a base. I'm not asking you to read all the books I read, but do the basics. And find someone who understands that there's a basics of knowledge needed and a basics of work that needs to be done. Marriage is work. A successful marriage is work. And by no means is that work on the female. Never, 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 never. It is work, it's a team. When we look at couples in the Quran and in the Seerah and in the Sunnah, they are a team. And if the person you're marrying, male or female, it goes both ways. If they don't have the same concept of teamwork, so I don't believe that in marriage there's a compromise. I believe all the compromising happens before the nikah. I believe after marriage, we have agreements. We have shura. Compromises happen before the nikah. When I take a brother that I know, because I did my investigation, doesn't understand teamwork. Because when I talked about teamwork, he describes his mom's marriage and his dad's marriage. He wants everything the way it was. And this is what many psychologists and relationship coaches are coming up with now, is men typically, and I'm not saying this everybody, but and we have a psychologist here to verify, typically men want the girl they married to stay exactly how she was when he married her. C'est impossible. I'm sorry. C'est impossible. Impossible. Right? Medically impossible, biologically impossible, age-wise, it's impossible. And all she wants when she's going for that divorce is he won't change. So imagine, you want her the way she was when you met her, and she just wants you to shift a little bit, change a wee bit. And that's not going to work. That combination won't work. You refuse to change or move or do anything, and you want her as she was when you met her, and she just wants you to grow up, mature, evolve, not change. Because I don't think men change in marriage. Anybody, any female who imagines that she can make a man change, good luck. It's not going to happen. It hasn't. If it did, nobody would be divorced. Men don't change. Why would they? Some people choose to mature and grow up and take on new responsibilities and evolve. And I have to say it, there are some women who want to be married, but to have the same relationship with mama and baba, like I didn't get married. And that's impossible. That's impossible. That's unrealistic. Yes, brother.
I have a question. So, more than one married guys gave me advices, and one of them was not to share everything with your wife. And one of the things is, let's say, income. So,
Before or after?
during marriage. So, what advice do you give us?
So, that's interesting. I've heard that a lot. I actually interviewed many men, and I do an assessment on readiness. And what you've said, brother, is common. It's very common. It is not an Islamic approach. It's not a teamwork approach. it's common. And I don't know if we were married and you hid your income from me, were you expecting me, Ahmed, to work and share the details of my income? Because Matt, it requires a bit of clarification. So I make $100,000 a year, and you make an undisclosed amount. So the last guy that I interviewed who did that, two actually, one Egyptian and one Moroccan. I don't know what it is with the Moroccan guys. It's not the Moroccan this is a Moroccan I was interviewing to become a client, which I declined. Returned his deposit and told him, I'm good. So I do several assessments. One of the assessments is, will I take you as a client or not? And there are red flags, because as a teacher, we have a bell curve. We know which students will end up with an A, B, and we know which students are going to be an E, F, G. And we just know that, right? We've been teaching. Hidayah, don't you know that? You can tell which student you're going to pass because you have to. So when I take on a client, especially a male, I need to assess. And I've declined many. I can't, because he's coming to me with flaring, glaring red flags. And one of the red flags was he's extremely wealthy, mashallah, and he had all the gold to prove it. And he declared himself as a very, very, very conservative Muslim. So I asked for clarification. What do you mean by conservative? He's like, I'm fiscally conservative. And he told me clearly, I own these properties. Like, he has to. I need to know, because I need to make sure that the match is reasonable. Like, right? If he's wealthy, he should marry a girl who's not greedy. He also declared that 11 imams in his city failed him. And basically, I envisioned myself as the 12th person that failed. So basically, I let him go. So he told me, no, I'm very honest, and this is how it goes. It's my job is difficult. You know, Baba Ali, when he talks to me, he's like, you do the worst. Like, he goes, Omaima, what's wrong with you? He goes, I would kill myself if I had to do what you do. He says, because he's more an IT, he's more he designed that stuff, right? He put in he's more about setting it up and letting it go. I'm more about getting to the nitty gritty of it. And he's like, I can't. He says, I can't do what you do. So basically, the brother told me I'm conservative, right? He's wearing short shorts. And he was really interested in a sister who was wearing whatever, like gilbab, niqab, whatever. It's all good. And when I told him that all the women I know would not fit his criteria, because it didn't make any sense to me, that he's not disclosing his finances. He doesn't want the woman to ever know what money he has. And he's conservative in the sense that he wears a lot of gold and shorts. And he drives a really, really, really expensive car. And then he said, listen, I'm not that picky. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, okay, how do you define that? He goes, just find me one of those refugee Syrian girls. And if she's not educated, it's okay. That didn't land well. So I returned the deposit to him and I told him, Rabbana iftah alik. Oh, and something else that threw me. So it's a combo, right? Him and what he wants. And he goes, oh, and she should be at least 25 years younger than me. 20. And I'm like, brother, no, this is when I got very alert. I'm like, wait a minute. Have you seen this model somewhere? Did I miss something? He goes, yeah, my dad. My mom is 22 years younger than my father. And how's that working? He goes, it's working great. I was like, okay, you know what, Habibi? I'll make it simple. I don't know any women who would. He goes, you don't know any of those Syrian refugee girls? I'm like, never met them. Because that design that's in his brain, a Syrian refugee girl who's not educated, who's 20 years younger than him, I've never met a girl like that.
He's looking for a pet.
I think it's more of a concubine. I was thinking more concubine. But you see, so then the Egyptian one was really amazing. He was divorced with child. And he said something brilliant. He's like, why is it that in Islam, we can't just live with her until we figure out who she really is? And then we can decide if we marry her or not. So my response, this was exactly a year ago. And I told him, you know what? No, I told him, you know something? Maybe Allah missed the spot.
Oh.
Right? Because he's Muslim. And he's older than all of you. He's an older man. And he's divorced. He's like, had I lived with her longer, I would have figured out who she really is. Then I wouldn't have married her. And I'm like, brother, do you know the stats on living together? Do you guys know the stats on living together for 5, 10, 15 years? The minute they get married, they're divorced within 2 years. Because commitment is marriage. Living together is not a commitment. It's a partial commitment. It's a half-half. Alhamdulillah. It's not easy. It's not easy. Islam is simple. Muslims are complicated.
Okay, we have room for maybe 2 more comments, and then we'll conclude, inshallah, or questions. Go ahead, please. Bismillah.
Just for the brother who asked the question in regards to what he's saying, this has happened to me as well. Like, you know, I married someone that was still a college student. We were both struggling. After we got married, I came into money, had a great job, and a lot of things were kept from me. And I'm wondering if your friends are suggesting that to you, what kind of friends, what kind of marriage do they have? If this is the kind of advice that your friends are going to give you in regards to, I don't know if you're married, I'm sorry, but in regards to your relationship with your wife, in this very sensitive manner, because we live in this world where money is everything. If they tell you it's nothing, it's a lie. So it becomes very monetary. I would want him to know that, you know, I married you from nothing, right? The fact that you need to be honest with me, it doesn't mean that I'm going to take that account and go and just, okay, give me that credit card and I'm just going to go. And you know what? The best of men are the ones that are best to their families.
Mm-hmm.
So to give her a little bit of that wealth, or it's also showing a lot of appreciation for her. So if they're giving you this kind of advice, I really have to wonder, yes? Or if you ask them, well, what is your marriage like?
So the one who gave me the advice, it's not tight, it's not cheap.
Yeah.
But this was the advice.
Yeah. Because sometimes, you know, monetary.
Yeah,
money
and would he?
makes or
My
breaks a
question is,
relationship.
did he give that advice for his sister, that your sister would not know what her husband has?
Yeah.
Because for me, I've been in marriages. I've been married once. There was days we had money. There was days we didn't.
Yeah.
I always knew. Because on the days when he says it's tight, then it's tight. The days he says, oh, things are well, then okay, let's buy the stuff we couldn't buy before. So I don't know if keeping her.
Keeping things.
And then the other thing is, when today women are also working, are we keeping secrets as well? Or you know my income and I don't know yours? Like, how is that equitable and how does that build a team? That's what I don't get. Like, and would you want that for your mom? Would you want that for your sister? Would you want that for your daughter, that her husband keeps everything to himself? I don't know. Like, we need to look at it in a prospect of, this woman that you married is someone's daughter, and she's someone's sister, and she's the mother of your children. So when you hide those informations from her, is that building the team? Is it making the team stronger or weaker?
I would respond to that, actually say that's bad advice. Because you want to build trust. You want to, if you're hiding something, that means you don't trust the person, right? It's a bad sign. Why is there lack of trust? I think that, honestly, I don't think my wife ever asked me how much you make. And I never hid the fact how much I made. I never brought it up actually. So it's not like something I'm hiding or something I disclose. Or I think it's, subhanAllah, it's just that, I think that what matters really is you're filling your responsibilities, right? You said he's not cheap, he's doing his duties, he's responsible, he's providing, he's taking care of his family. But to consciously hide something means there's lack of trust, there's fear, there's worry. And I think that your wife should be somebody that's going to be your partner in this life, and hopefully, inshallah, in the next. So you want to build that trust. So if there is a lack of trust, then that needs to be addressed, right? And why is there a lack of trust? It needs to be dug deep and try to settle the issue of that lack of trust, right? Allah. Yeah? All right, one more comment, question, or thought, and then we conclude, inshallah, or are we done? If there are no comments and questions, we'll give the final word to Sister Omaima. No more hands out there, all right. Bismillah, Sister Omaima, final words.
Jazakallah khair. It's hard to compress that much information in a short time. I'm going to elaborate on something for the finances because I think it impacts a lot of men and women and children because the children see this, right? If your wife was asking and you weren't answering her and you were arguing about such matters, you know the kids will know. Kids know. The kids are smart. So many women have asked, and men have asked too, how many bank accounts should we have? How many bank accounts should a Muslim couple have? Sister?
3.
Okay, explain.
If the woman is working, then a personal account for her income, and the man's bank account for his general income, and a shared account if they're both investing in the house or if he's taking care of all the finances so that he's able to access and buy directly without asking him every time.
And how about 3 accounts, even if she's not working? Because there will be a time when she works and there's a time that she doesn't work. So 3 accounts build harmony. 3 accounts give sakina to the wife. And something that I came to recently, do you realize that women are the ones making the decision about marriage? Because every brother in this room can propose. So that brother, psychology brother, you proposed. Then what? Ahmed, you proposed. That doesn't go anywhere. This brother with the yellow hat, he proposed. Then what? What happens?
Well, you wait, like you propose to someone, well, wait for the decision.
Yes. So who actually makes the final call?
Actually, like with time, it's shown that usually I'd say more like in collectivism, like more conservative countries, but actually in the West too, is that they've seen at the beginning, like first years, it's usually it seems that it's the man who leads kind of the relationship and even the finances, but with time, it just switches and it's like the woman who actually takes in charge like all the finances, like decisions, like big decisions, like buying the house, the car, where the children are gonna go for school,
Yep.
and
And Ahmed, what's so interesting, the refugee Syrian women, I worked with them. I still work with them till now. And it's fascinating to me to see women, I mean, refugees could be from anywhere, but the ones that I followed, because I worked in immigration and refugee affairs, I followed these women since they came, 2015. And whenever I call her, she's like, we're saving. We bought a car. I learned to drive. He has a full-time job. I have 9 kids. I'm catering. I'm making money. What are you doing with that money? I'm sending it to his family and mine. I buy gold. I sell gold. We're putting a down payment on a house. Right? These are the refugee women. They went through Lebanon. She had a child there. They went through Turkey. She had a child there. They came here. She had a child here. 9. Ahmed, she's your age.
Inshallah.
She's not 40 yet.
Probably past 40.
Okay. Well, she's my eldest daughter's age. She's just hitting 49. That refugee woman from Syria who came from farmland. So the lens, how we look at women and how we look at men. Because when these men are proposing, these refugee Syrians or Palestinians, whatever, right? We are a community of immigrants and refugees and asylum seekers, especially if you're Muslim. So we need to be very careful that we look beyond the surface. Because looking at the surface means you're only going to get that level of depth. And that's not something that's going to build family. Jazakallah khair. I would really like this beautiful audience to show
Jazakallah khair, Sister Omaima, for joining us today. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reward you and bless you and accept from you. We hope that you found this beneficial. We hope to have future discussions like these in the future, inshallah, if Allah permits, inshallah, Rabbil Alameen. Next week, we will continue on with the seerah of the Prophet, inshallah. Barakallahu feekum, jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.